Hey everyone, and welcome to the channel. Today we are going to be going over my most anticipated reads for the second half of the year. Definitely let me know what your most anticipated reads are for the second half of the year. I'm sure I missed some really great books that are coming out, but in my research that I did, these are the ones that really caught my eye the most. And some of them are going to be extremely obvious and some maybe not so much. So let's go ahead, and I have this broken up into three categories. I have ones that I will 100% read as soon as they come out, as soon as they get into my hands, downloadable, whatever format I'm getting them into, I will, dive right in. I also have ones that I will get to pretty soon after they release, so not day one reads for me, but ones that I would like to get to sooner than later. And then I have a third category, which are technically sequels for books that I haven't read yet, but I was excited for the first book and for whatever reason just never got around to reading it. So let's go ahead and get the obvious one out of the way first, and that is Winds and Truth by Brandon Sanderson. If you are into fantasy, pretty much everybody is extremely excited for this book. This will be the final book of the first half of the Stormlight archive. To me, I enjoy the Cosmere as a whole, but Stormlight is really special, and I really kind of wish Sanderson would focus more on just Stormlight. I think we're not getting the next book for like several years at this point, which to me is a little disheartening. I'm not saying that the next trilogy that he's going to write for Mistborn is going to be bad, and I'm not excited for it. But for me, Stormlight is the special series inside of the Cosmere right now, and maybe he will do something that blows me away with some of the stuff that's coming out. I don't think that will be Elantris or the Ghostbloods trilogy he's going to write for Mistborn, and so I'm going to be sad that there's such a long break with the Stormlight titles, but I am very much excited for this book. This is going to be, Sanderson is so known for his Sanderlanche, and I think this whole book has the opportunity to just be a Sanderlanche from beginning to end. There's a lot that I feel like he needs to cover, and the book is massive. I think it's literally almost as big of a book that they can print at this point, and so I'm just really excited to see what he does, and I hope that it's less of Rhythm of War and more of Words of Radiance. And I just feel like there's going to be so much going on and so much happening that it's going to be a balancing act of action, storytelling, character growth, just so many things that need to go into this book. But I'm so excited for it and very ready for December to get here. It comes out, December 6th is what my notes say. So December, that'll probably be my only read that month because it is so long. But yeah, very much ready for that. If you have been around the channel for a while, you know that I am a really big fan of The Expanse, and the next book that I am very excited for comes out very soon, August 8th, by James S.A. Corey, which is the author duo that wrote The Expanse, and that is The Mercy of Gods. This is a new sci-fi series for them, and basically it looks like this is going to be a combination of alien interactions and, humans being enslaved, and there's, like a galactic-wide conflict going on between not just humans and one other alien species. It seems like there are thousands of alien species that are kind of being imprisoned by, I don't know exactly how to pronounce it. It starts with a C. I'll put it up on the screen. But basically this race has abducted a very prestigious scientist, and he's kind of trying to figure some things out as we go on through the story. I haven't looked too much into it because I kind of like to go into my stories blind, but for the most part, once again, anything that this author writes, I was going to read. And so the fact that we're getting one very close to after I finished The Expanse, which wasn't that long ago, I can't ask for much more than that. Next up in the 100% will read on release day is The Fury of the Gods by John Gwynne. This is apparently going to be coming out October 22nd, and this will be the third book and the final book of the Bloodsworn saga. This is a very Norse-inspired fantasy. I'm not going to say too much about it because it's the final book of a series and I don't want to spoil anything for anybody, but I am very curious on where this book is going to start and wrap things up, because where book 2 ends is very much a cliffhanger. And one thing I always want to praise John Gwynne for, I don't know if he did this for his other series, but at the start of The Hunger of the Gods, there is a recap of what happened in book 1. And I just want to say that is so nice as a reader who reads a lot, and it might be huge time gaps between the times I've read your books, to get a recap from the author themselves telling you that, hey, these are the important things that you definitely want to have at the forefront of your mind, and some of the other things will come to you as you read. Man, that is just great work by the author. I feel like that extra 10 pages, or I don't even remember how long it was in Hunger of the Gods, but it was so nice to get that refresh from the Shadow of the Gods beforehand. So I very much expect that to be here for The Fury of the Gods. And also just what an awesome cover with the giant snake, the giant wolf, and the giant dragon that this series has had. Just knocked it out of the park with all the covers. And the last book in the 100% day one read category is Not Till We Are Lost, which is coming out very soon, September 5th, and that is by Dennis E. Taylor. This is book 5 of the Bobbyverse series. This is, I don't know, I would really have to look and see what my favorite sci-fi series are. This one would be up there. This is probably vying for 1 or 2. This is a much more light series. It's not super hard sci-fi. There are definitely some more complex scientific elements, but the way it is explored is a much more like user-friendly, beginner-friendly kind of experience. There's a good mix of humor in here. I think the audiobooks are really, really well done by Ray Porter, and I have just been a really big fan of the series. I will say the most recent book, it was my least favorite of the series, but one thing I noticed is this book is shorter and back to the more normal length. So book 4 was much longer than all of the other books, and I think that is what affected my enjoyment a little bit there. And this book has kind of scaled back to the normal length, and the general premise is some Bobs have discovered something that could change the galaxy. I don't want to say too much if you're not into the series at all, because spoilers and stuff. But this is I've been waiting for this book for a really long time, because I check his blog pretty regularly to try and get updates on this series. And this book has been done since like January, if not before. I think he said he submitted this to Audible in like January. So waiting all the way until now, or basically to now, to get this out and like ready to go seems like a really long wait, because I have wanted it, and it's been a long time since I've read a Bobbyverse book, so very much excited to get back to it. Next up, going to the category of probably won't be day one releases, but probably pretty soon once they come out will be something I read. And first one up might surprise some people. If you watched my Impact Winter Season 2 review, you will know I was hugely disappointed by that audio. They call it an audio experience. This is an Audible exclusive. They do kind of like a full cast with all kinds of extra stuff added into it, and all kinds of sound effects and everything. And Impact Winter, the first season, is how they break this up. It was such a great vampire story, right? Had a great time with it. I thought it was a great world. So many things I liked about it. And then season 2 came around and just was not the same level of quality. There were very strange audio choices throughout this that they call an audio experience, like just very questionable things. I thought the story was kind of all over the place, and I don't know, I gave it 2 stars. I really did not enjoy my time with it. And so you might be asking yourself, well, why are you going to read this so close when it comes out? And well, that's just because I can't help myself. I want to know what happens. I want to know if season 2 was a one-off and they're going to kind of right the ship, or can I just forget about the series and never go back to it? They're normally not long. I think they were both like 4-ish hours long, so they're not like a huge time commitment, but it's just kind of something that I want to know. Oh, and I don't think I said when this comes out. So Impact Winter Season 3 comes out July 18th. So wow, that is very soon. And that is by Travis Bauckham. And once again, I'm hoping that this rights the ship. If not, I'll know I can tap out and not need to continue. This is included in an Audible subscription, so if you do have Audible, you can pick up Impact Winter Season 1 and 2 to see if it's your kind of thing. Like I said, Season 1 is great. I think you could just read that or listen to it as a standalone. It's a really good vampire story, very atmospheric, just really well done, really well produced, all those kinds of things. And then, you can see your mile may vary on Season 2, but I will be committing myself to Season 3. Next up is Alien Clay, which is coming September 17th, and that is by Adrian T, because I cannot say his last name. This is an author that I have not had the best luck with. I've only really read, I think, some of his short stories. I haven't read any of his novels, which is on me and not on him. I normally don't jive with super short novels anyway, and for some reason I keep reading them from him. But this is about somebody being sent to a prison colony, and I think it has something to do with figuring out that humanity is not the first intelligent life to have been to this planet. Once again, don't know too much about it, but it does sound interesting, and I know that this author has been praised for some of his other science fiction novels, so it gives me hope that this will be one that I like. And so many people speak so highly of him, and I know he is super prolific, writes a whole lot, has a huge fan base, so I'm hoping that once I get into some of his longer works, he will really start to work better for me. I think the other one I read by him was called Elder Race, and for whatever reason, it was just a short story that I thought the premise, when I read the premise of it, was very interesting, and then the execution was just not what I was looking for. But very much more interested in, this new planet, I think he can really create a strange place for people to explore and kind of get to know. So looking forward to that one. Next up, and this is one that is probably lesser known on this list, and that is The Lost Story, which is coming July 16th. So once again, very soon, by Meg Schaefer. And the basic premise is 2 missing kids must take a look at their mysterious past to help find some missing kids. And there are definitely some fantasy elements alluded to here, that there's a mysterious kind of thing going on, and that they need to kind of unblock what they can't remember to help people going forward. It, like I said, definitely has a magical mystery kind of element to it. And I'll be honest, a missing almost kind of thriller story sounds like something I kind of want right now. My reading recently I've just been in a huge reading slump, so looking forward to maybe mixing that up with a different kind of genre. The next book is the Book of Elsewhere, which is coming July 23rd, and this is the Keanu Reeves China Miéville mashup. Basically, I think it has something to do with I don't know if they're necessarily cybernetic or just kind of like a super soldier with super serum or something, but basically they can't die and they want to. And so I think somebody reaches out to them, and it's the whole, if you can do this for me, I can grant you your wish. For them is to not continue living because they've just been alive forever. I'm not the biggest Keanu Reeves fan. I think he is an interesting person who does some very interesting things. I like him in The Matrix and everything. But the thing that makes me most curious about this book is that it just seems like such a weird matchup to have Keanu Reeves and China Miéville write a story together. I don't know how much is them writing together. Was this somebody came up with an idea and they needed an author and they picked them? I'm curious on all those inner workings there. I also have not read anything by China Miéville. I've heard he is a very interesting author who kind of pushes boundaries, and I wasn't sure if I should start with some of his other things. So this might be because he's working with Keanu Reeves, maybe something that isn't so far out there, and is maybe something that it'll be a good way to like introduce myself to him as an author, though not 100% sure. Next up is Sanctuary, and that is coming July 30th by Ian Andrews. And the reason I picked this is it seems so far away from what I would normally read. So the basic premise here is it's not easy serving Chernenborg, the god of destruction, darkness, and death, especially during the holidays, and especially when you're out of eggnog and one of your pesky freeloading mythical creatures has eaten your last cookie. So I read that, and that is not normally the kind of story I would go to. I'm normally not into the silly, goofy, horrible things going on, but we're being all lighthearted and funny about it. But for whatever reason, it just sounded funny, and it's super short, so I feel like my commitment to it isn't that high. It's like a 4-hour-long audiobook, and I just think it'll be kind of a fun, good time, something that I don't have to focus so much on, that it's going to be like maybe a good palate cleanser, just kind of fun, light read, and so I'm excited for it. It's so out of my normal wheelhouse, but I think that is actually what makes me so intrigued by that story. And then the last book in this category of I will get to it pretty soon, hopefully after release date, is The Life Impossible, which is coming September 3rd by Matt Haig. This is an author I have only read one other book from, but I had a pretty good time with it. I thought it had some weaknesses with it, but in general, seeing his name attached to this book made me interested to look into it again. The basic premise is it's kind of like a murder mystery, maybe, but basically the main character is left the house from her best friend, and after they pass, and they go and start exploring around and start investigating what was actually going on and all these kinds of things. So that's what makes me lean towards maybe it's being kind of a murder mystery thing. Maybe it's more of like an exploration of like living life and stuff like that. I'm not 100% sure, but once again, this author intrigued me enough. I think it was called The Humans. I don't know if I said that already, but it was enough that made me want to continue on and check out some of his other work. So this new release seemed like a good time. And then I just have 2 books in the last category, which these are sequels for book ones that I was excited for but didn't read for whatever reason. And the first book is Warlords of the Weirdwood, which the first book was Gods of the Weirdwood, and that is by R.J. Parker. That comes out on September 10th. And the basic premise of the first book, I didn't want to look at the second book without reading the first book, is in a land of gods and wars, a brave forester encounters prophets, warrior monks, and mysterious magic, which, once again, this is a book that I really did want to get to. I think it came out, it was last year, like mid-September-ish last year. I really wanted to get to it, and then I kind of waffled on if this is where I wanted to start with this author. I think there was another series that I thought about reading, and then it kind of got pushed. Just a bunch of excuses, but this is a series I definitely want to get to, and so book 2 coming out makes me kind of want to push because I can kind of read them back to back, even though I'll have to wait for the next book after that, which is fine for me. And the last book is Somewhere Beyond the Sea by TJ Klune, and that comes out September 10th as well. This is an author that I really want to get to at some point. This is the sequel to House on the Cerulean Sea, so this is basically somebody who is in charge of like magical children and making sure they're going to be safe and not harm anything, comes in and investigates and stuff like that. He also wrote House of the Puppets or something. I can't remember exactly what it's called. It's actually somewhere on my shelf over there. But regardless, this is an author I want to get to. My girlfriend really loves House on the Cerulean Sea, so that makes me kind of want to read that and then this, so we can talk about it, and also just in general, people have spoken very highly of this author. So that is you know, another reason to get to them. So that was my list of books that I'm very much looking forward to for the second half of the year. These are obviously all new releases that I want to read as soon as possible. We'll see how well I can actually stick to this list. All good plans are made to be destroyed, right? So hopefully I can at least stick to those first couple I mentioned that I 100% want to read when they come out. I actually already have all of those pre-ordered, so they are going to come to me whether I'm ready for them or not. But once again, definitely let me know what you are most looking forward to. I know Wind and Truth is going to be a huge one for everybody, and let me know what you want to read. But that's all for me, and as always, have a good one.